I'm Elan Sorensen, a sophomore in Thunder Ridge High School. For this year's sophomore project, I decided to work on engines. Engines have always fascinated me. That's why I'm even sitting in my car right now with an engine in front of me. I've always wondered to myself, how do engines really work? How does a piece of metal with inner workings actually power a vehicle or of something of so much weight? I chose this project because not only do I want to know how it works, I want to inspire other people to understand this working so they don't have to go to car mechanics all the time. I'm not saying everybody should always do their own work on their own engines, but it's always important to know the main factors of how your engine works, just in case of emergency. And we also need to understand the dangers of an engine. Now, an engine has been one of the best inventions by mankind, I think, because it has truly revolutionized our modern era, not just because of how we drive our cars, but just because of modes of transport. In the past, before engines, we had to ride bikes, we had to walk, we had to swim, we were trying to find ways to invent an airplane. Now, this was very irrelevant. And let's say you wanted to go to a different country. You couldn't. If you wanted to, you had to board a boat, and that boat would sail with the power of the wind for days until you get to that other country. Nowadays, human beings, have revolutionized the era by inventing this engine, so-called engine, a piece of machinery that can make a person travel countless of miles, not only on land, but in water and also in the air. The engine that I will be showing you today is so similar to the way this car runs, it's unbelievable. I'm Elan Sorensen, and welcome to my sophomore project.
This is the power washer we will be using today. First step in this process is to empty all the gasoline from the engine. The next step is to remove the cover using a wrench. This will expose the engine. Next, we take off the spark plug cover. Here we entirely take off the spark coil system. Here in the photo, we take off the cover, introducing the valves of the engine. Here in the video, we are showing an example of the valves moving in correlation of moving the heavy magnet head on top. This allows air to escape and pressure to be built and released inside of the piston. Here's an example of a wrench sticking to the magnet to show how strong the force is of the magnet every time it spins around. In this photo, we are taking the air filter off. Here in this video, we are emptying the engine's oil. In this photo, we see the carburetor. This determines how much oil and how much gas is entered. Here, we are taking off the first half of the engine. This is the engine now removed from the base. The engine was composed of two major components which are plastered together by some sort of glue. Here we are seeing breaking that glue apart. In this video, we are revealing what is inside the main component of the engine. These are the pistons of the engine. In this video, we are recreating what it would be like if the engine was on and that weight that moves up and down is the bottom of the piston, in which is in the bottom half of the engine. Each piece on the mat is a part of the engine, starting with the cover, which is right here in red. Next is the air filter, air cover, and air filter bolts. Next we have carburetor, starter, and clutch. The following one is a spark coil, and the one next to it is a spark plug. Over here we have the oil slit, which allows you to see how much oil you have. Next is the head cover, which covers the valves, the engine exhaust, which was removed, the engine stabilization bolts, the exhaust and cover, the small half of the engine, which is seen to be right here, the less heavy one as well, and then the whole head of the engine itself, in which composed of the gas lines and pistons, magnet, belt, and other components we will describe later on. In this container we have the engine's old oil, which I had saved and you had seen previously. Over here we have the frame of the power washer. This includes the wheels. Next we have the oil filter. The oil filter consists of the filter itself, which is right here. It runs through air and keeps oil clean along with other components in the engine to ensure its cleanliness when running through these parts. Here's the oil slit. This is inserted into the main component of the engine, in which lets you know how much oil is freely roaming inside of the engine itself. Up next we have the exhaust cover bolts, and exhaust bolts. Here we have the exhaust. I could not open it because it was welded together. It runs air and combustion made from the piston, runs through this area, goes down and exits through there, which is the exhaust. These are fumes that could be dangerous if blocked and kept inside of the engine itself. Next, we have the bottom half of the engine. It's also slanted to make production easier and cheaper. You can also see here closely that it moves in a circular direction such as seen. Right above it, you can see a metal rod, which is seen right there. This is the clutch arm. When the clutch arm is pulled, it comes in contact with the smaller piston. Off to the side of the engine, you can see where the oil slit is placed. This runs through the engine itself, and you can see that it will maintain and show how much oil will be inside of the lower half of the engine and the engine in total, with lines to protect it from heat. The rod also runs through from the other engine into that hole to spin it around and to create pressure for the pressure washer system. This is the bigger half of the engine, the heavier half. Right here in this area, you can see where the piston is located, although you cannot see the piston. The piston has a weight at the back of it, and every time it turns, you can see the piston is pulled back and forward, which you will see in a diagram. This allows pressure to be made and sparks to be made. Right here on the other side of the engine, you can see this strong pole, which goes through the other half, which goes through the bottom of the power washer. This will spin to induce the pressure of the power washer and create the friction needed to power the engine. This is the belt that spins the upper gear. That gear also spins the other gear in the smaller half. Over here, you can see where the gas is running through. It goes in that tube and into the piston, in which the oil and gas combine with the piston to create that spark needed for combustion. Through this hole, the exhaust and fumes are removed. Here you can see the bottom weights of the piston. Here we have the gas that I emptied early on in the video. Here is the oil, and you can see this oil is very thick and very, very dirty, and that can affect the engine's performance, and it can also affect how the engine will run over time. Here's an example of how to properly wash your hands after an engine disassembly. So, as you can see, my hands are covered in oil and other weird chemicals, and the hand soap does not work properly. So, I suggest you use dish soap. Dish soap ensures a proper cleaning of the hands after touching these chemicals, such as oil. Make sure you properly rub your hands together with the dish soap to ensure that it really gets into your skin and cleans it properly. Dish soap is used to clean dishes, which is different from cleaning hands and cleans deeper. And as you can see as I'm washing my hands with the dish soap, what an impact that made compared to the hand soap. Thank you for watching my sophomore project, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. This is truly a different experience for me, and I have enjoyed it with every minute and every second.